Hello, hello. Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to the Lockdown Recording Series. I'm your host, Pooji Bell. It is the Memorial Day weekend. I hope that everyone is having a good time, staying safe, and out of harm's way. Um, the Lockdown Recording Series, essentially for the last, I don't know, 5, 6 weeks or so. Hey, Valley. I've been playing drums for the world, and my effort and to help fight this whole pandemic, this whole corona thing, the only way I know how, by making music. To the end of this month, if you have a song and if you would like me to play on your song, all you have to do is send me a track, one with drums, one without, to lockdownrecording@gmail.com. Lockdownrecording@gmail.com. To the end of this month, I'll play on it, send it back to you, and you get a 2-track stem file for free. If you want all of the drums, we do a little bit of business, and I send you the stems. And that's what I've been doing. I've done tracks from everywhere, literally everywhere. America, Africa, the African continent, Asia, European continent, Asian, everywhere. So take advantage of this while it's still going on. The lockdown is going to switch focus. And today is an example of change in focus. So everyone is going online and presenting music that influenced them or that they enjoyed as a young musician. And so today I'm going to play you some of the music that I grew up listening to and that I used to practice to as a young man. Hold it 1 second. I can't stand this cursor. Anyway, forget that. Music that influenced me, musicians that influenced me. So, and also I'm going to play you some songs today, tracks that I performed on that you probably didn't know that I play drums on. So I'm going to start out with one of my most favorite drummers of all time. His name is Steve Ferrone. Steve Ferrone played drums on all the Chaka Khan records. When I was a young man, I worked with Chaka. I got the gig essentially because I could imitate Steve Ferrone so well. We played with one of the second or third gig I did with Chaka Khan was at a place in New York called the Ritz, which turned into Webster Hall. And he showed up. He showed up to the gig, and as a young man, I really got on his nerve, and I kept calling him Uncle Steve all night. And I don't think he appreciated that very much at all. But nonetheless, and also, one of the greatest bass players in the world, Anthony Jackson, who I got to work with. I'm going to play a track that I did on hey Holly. On a Japanese project from the 90s. It's going to feature myself, Anthony, and some other New York starlet kind of guys, but I can't remember all off the top of my head. But anyway, let's start out with the song that was one of my all-time favorite songs to play with Chaka. My cursor is tripping on me. And it's a song that you all know, and it was one of the most fun songs that I ever had. Oh, and let me do my thing for y'all so you can see what I'm doing, so you won't think I've gone crazy. But here we go. Whoa. I'm so proud of myself every time I do that. Every time I do that, it freaks me out. Okay. So when I worked with Chaka, this was one of the most fun songs to play. Playing with Chaka was great because you got to play great music like all the time. right? She always had the best rhythm sections, right? Anthony Jackson and Will Lee and Steve Ferrone and just a host of just Hiram Bullock, just great musicians. But this is a song that was one of my favorites to play, and you know the song, so I won't say nothing. I'm just gonna play it.
Different shapes and sizes, hiding the horizon. In the distance, coming to change my plans. All my dreams
Dwayne?
felt like sand. The moment that you say goodbye, gonna rush right to the sky. Baby, baby, please don't go. It's gonna rain,
What's up, Vince?
gonna rain,
Hey, Ruth.
rain down tears, heartache and fears. It's gonna rain, going to rain. I know for sure you don't reach for me no more. Gonna rain down tears, heartache and fears. Gonna rain, there in the distance is that number one
All right, so I know y'all know that song, so I don't have to keep like to wear it out. But the drumming, the lock between Steve Ferrone and Anthony Jackson is simply magical. So every day after school when this record came out, I was in the crib shedding hard, trying to emulate Steve Ferrone. All right, so Steve is one of the most, if you think about my sound and how I play drums, if you know anything about how I play drums, then you know that there's a lot of that in there. So he also played drums on all of the Average White Band. He played with Tom Petty. He's on countless numbers of amazing records. So he was one of my major influences. Now, the next guy I'm going to go to was also a New York starlet. Now, this record, excuse me, chances are good you don't know. It's by a guy named John Scofield. Now, Scofield is, come on, John Scofield is one of the greatest guitarists in the world. But when he started out, it wasn't a lot of people who was hip at the time, right? And he put out this record on Arista a long time ago. It was called Who's Who. So it featured, again, Anthony Jackson playing the bass, right? But the drummer I'm about to talk about is Steve Jordan. Steve Jordan Pocket is phenomenal. He was the drummer on the David Letterman late night show for years and years and years. They made a movie about Chuck Berry. He was the drummer for that. He was in a band called The Expensive Winos with Keith Richards. He is a producer. He's a songwriter. He produces John Mayer, right? With that song is something about waiting for the world to change or whatever that song was. That was Steve on that. Steve played a major role in my drumming, studying him, watching him. I got to see him work one time in the studio, and it was mesmerizing. I mean, literally, the fluidness and the funkiness of what he did. So this was another song that I used to practice to when I was a kid. This is called Who's Who. And I'm going to let this one kind of play a little bit longer because you got to hear Steve Jordan's drum solo at the end. All right? And that great Anthony Jackson bass sound again. Woo! Hey, Eric, what's up, man? Woo! All right, with all due respect to John, because he's playing his ass off. He's always playing his ass off. But I'm gonna fade this down a little bit, and I'm gonna move it down to the drum solo and bring it back. Hope I didn't pass it. Oh, I passed it. Oh, my bad. Hold it. I'm gonna go back. Oh, there it is. All right. Here we go. Woo! Steve Jordan, y'all. Anthony. All right, so that's if you know anything about how I drum, that's the type of stuff that as a kid coming up, that's the kind of stuff that I was practicing to on a regular basis. All right, so that's Steve Jordan. Okay. If you don't know him, if you don't know who he is, you need to check him out. Get some of his records. Check out like his productions and stuff. All right, now the next guy I'm gonna go to is by far, again, one of my most favorite drummers. His name is Mike Clark. Okay. What's up, man? Eric, I can't remember who's on keys. It might be someone like a New York guy, like Cliff Anderson. I can't remember who played keys on that record. But you can find it on YouTube. It's called Who's Who by John Scofield. But the next thing I want to go to is a Herbie Hancock track called Actual Proof. Still to this day, I practice to this track because the drumming that Mike Clark plays on this record, it's simply beyond. I mean, it's funk, it's jazz. It's like Tony Williams meets a James Brown drummer in an alley somewhere. You know what I mean? He's swinging hard and he's playing funk hard. So I'll just play you a little bit of Actual Proof. And I'm still practicing to this stuff. I got my son to start practicing to this song, and he has been befuddled by it like most musicians are. But this is Herbie Hancock's Actual Proof. So slick. kick drum. Swinging. Funk. Tony. Swinging. Funk. All right, so for those of y'all who know, I mean, I got a lot of stuff to get to. So, but for those of y'all who know, the Thrust album by Herbie is simply a legendary record. If you don't have this record, if you don't know this music, this jazz funk music, you need to get to it. You need to get to it. Okay. Now I'm going to go to what I call the big three for me. The big three. So the big three for me are Tony Williams, Lenny White, and Billy Cobham. All right. They forever changed my life. So, and my style of drumming, if you were to take Billy Cobham, Tony Williams, Lenny White, Mike Clark, Steve Ferrone, Steve Jordan, put them in a blender, add in a little Elvin Jones, then you would get Poogie Bell. Oh, and Harvey Mason. I'm going to get to Harvey. Don't worry. I'm going to get to Harvey. But these guys were my guys, right? So now I'm going to play you a song that is originally done by the Brecker Brothers. The song is called Some Skunk Funk. Now, on the Brecker Brothers record, the record's called Back to Back, right? Randy and Mike Brecker, right? Hi, Randy. How you doing if you see this? Now, on the record, they had Will Lee and Harvey Mason playing drums, right? And that version of Skunk Funk is fly. There's a live version of the song, right? On a record by the Brecker Brothers called Heavy Metal Bebop. The drummer who sets up more drums that can fit in my basement, Terry Bozzio, played drums on that one. It's a live one. That one is fly too. But to me, and all due respect to Terry, all due respect to Harvey, Harvey's a good personal friend of mine. My favorite version of the song was the one that Billy Cobham put on his record called The Funky Thighs of Things, which is a very strange title for a record, but I'm going to play it and you'll see what I'm talking about. His power and definition across the drums are amazing. All right, so here's Billy Cobham playing some Skunk Funk. Alex Blake on bass. And that's Randy and Mike playing. All right, now listen to Billy. This is crazy. This is crazy. Woo! Whoa, whoa. Okay. All right, so Billy, and it's amazing to me, all these guys whose music I'm playing for you tonight, all these guys are my friends now. So people who I grew up listening to are now like, I talked to William, not Billy. I talked to William, and I know his brother Wayne. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of surreal for me to play this music that I used to practice to all the time, and now I actually know these people intimately and personally, and he is a class act all the way through, right? And he was playing in New York at the Blue Note before all this pandemic stuff was going on, and Dean Brown, a good friend of mine, was playing guitar with him. And Dean said, "Man, I thought it's so beautiful because all the drummers in New York came and paid Billy homage, literally, while he was there. While he was in New York playing, because he's a master at what he does." Right. All right. So we're gonna move on from Billy, and we're gonna go to a brother who also I know very, very well, a guy by the name of Lenny White. Lenny. I met Lenny when I was 13 or 14, 15, somewhere in there, when I was working with Weldon Irvine in Brooklyn, right, where I met Marcus, where I met Donald Blackman, where I met all these great musicians from Queens, Bernard Wright. Weldon Irvine had written a play called Young, Gifted, and Broke, right? And it was a precursor, so to speak, to what Tyler Perry did with Medea. So it was a very Afrocentric play, and they would have church groups come through the Thursday, Friday, and twice on a Saturday, and twice on a Sunday to come out and see this show. And it ran for like 2 years or 3 years, something like that. It was off Broadway, but that's where I met all these, where I met Lenny, right? And his production, a lot of people don't know this, how much of the production that he did on the Return to Forever records, right? He is currently, they just finished working on something with Vince Wilburn, who is Miles Davis's nephew, some form of a new Miles Davis project. He played on the seminal Bitches Brew album, all right, Stanley Clarke and all them years with the Return to Forever. As a leader, he's had hit records, right? Something that's very rare for a drummer to do, right? There's only a handful of drummers who ever had hit records. So Lenny had a hit record. Maurice White, of course, Earth, Wind, and Fire. Most people don't know this. Teddy Pendergrass, the great R&B singer, started out as a drummer, so I guess that counts. You got Nard and Michael Walden, who wrote had a bunch of hits on his own as an artist, but wrote "Oh, I Want to Dance with Somebody," right? And along with a whole bunch of other great songs through that period of the 80s and 90s. But Lenny is one of these guys who had hit records on his own with productions and stuff. So I'm going to play you one of my favorite songs from one of his records. It's called "Struttin'," and it's from a record called Streamline. So this is Lenny White. Again, more after-school practice music. That's right, Barry Boo Productions, bro. Oh no, son. Don Blackman, come on now. Woo! Nick Marrock on guitar. My big brother Marcus Miller on the bass. y'all, I gotta keep moving on. I mean, I know y'all keep want to jam, and I want to keep jamming on it too. But I got other music I want to play for you. Look, I'm saying you need to check out some of these records from back in the day. I ain't mad at Snarky Puppy. I ain't mad at my man Sput with Ghost Note. But you need to go check out the foundations and the roots of where all that stuff is coming from, y'all. All right, again, that was some more of my after school practice music. All right, now we're going to move on to the third member of the big three. Now this brother is Tony Williams. Tony Williams is one of the greatest musicians, not only drummer, but musicians that ever walked the planet Earth. He started playing drums with Miles Davis at the age of 16, right? And he found a freedom and a space within the swing that most people didn't even know existed at the time. Right? Just played with the time, messed with people's minds. Now, the thing that I always loved about Tony Williams and always will love about Tony Williams is that he had the ability to create his own space within space. Now, think about that for a second. He was able to create his own space within space while playing the drums. It's if you read between the lines when you listen to him play, and think about what I just said, it'll make sense. Now, here's one of my favorite songs from an amazing record called Tony Williams' Lifetime, Believe It. Alan Holdsworth, God bless him. Tony so fast. All right. All right, so I just had to give you a little bit of that. I had to give you a little bit of that. Tony Williams, he put out. I can't. I'm not exactly sure the number of records he put out on Columbia, but he put out records on Blue Note. But the Columbia period is more of the rock fusion period. Well, no. Well, the first Emergency record that had Larry Young and John McLaughlin, those came out on Polydor Records, which I guess is probably owned by Universal now. But the Columbia period, and when he came out of retirement to play with Stanley Clarke on a record simply called Stanley Clarke, it has a brown cover. You have to pick up this music. That was 1975, y'all. That was Tony Williams in 1975 playing all that. All right. So check out his fusion period. Any period that you pick up a Tony Williams, anything is going to be a good period. Just short story. Long story short. All right. But again, it's more of my practice music. Now I'm gonna take you to a dude who should have been in the big three. His name is Ndugu Chancellor. He spent a lot of years playing with George Duke, right? Patrice Rushen, he's the drummer on Michael Jackson's Billie Jean, right? Just to give you some of his credit. But the thing that I always loved him was when he played with Weather Report. They put out a record called Tail Spinning. And this was one of my most favorite songs to practice to. It was called Freezing Fire. I'm going to play you a bit of this. Check out his snare drum and his foot. Just listen to his snare drum and foot. Alfonso Johnson on the bass. Again, so this record, same thing, like 1975 or so. But again, more of my after school shed music. Now I'm going to play you a couple things that might surprise you that were influences on me. One of the guys, his name is Bill Buford. Bill Buford. He played with the band. I think it was Yes. I'm not positive, but I discovered him. I guess I discovered him the late 70s, early 80s. And I don't know if you call it progressive rock or fusion or what you call it, but it's good music. At least it was to me. And this is some of the other stuff that I would jam to after school. Here we go. Bill Buford. I don't know if I can play it now, though. Hit them high-ass tom-toms. That was, and I lived in a house, my dad was a musician and he put out records on Atlantic and Columbia Records like in the 60s and stuff. And I know he thought I had to been crazy. It's like, what the hell is my son practicing to, blasting back in there in the room with the drums? Now, in the same type of vein, but a little more soulful, was a brother by the name of David Sanchez. All right. You might know him as the keyboard player for Sting, but he had an incredible, or still has an incredible solo career. Right. And his records were just, such a pleasure to practice to. This one is called Sound of Love. I'm going to play you a little bit of this. Similar type of vibe, rockish, kind of fusionish. sound like Sting,
can
right?
see it everywhere that you go.
Or Stevie Winwood.
Just a spark in the dark to start the fire in the heart of your soul. You can hear it any place, the sound of every time and space, and I know. Just a sound in your voice that tells you freedom is a choice of your own. It's the sound of the powers above, the sound of love.
So yeah, I was an eclectic child, right? And then I would come back and I would do this, right? So I also had a thing. There was this record by a guy named Jeff Beck. He put out a record called Wired. Had Nard and Michael Walden playing drums on it. That was enough for me to buy it, right? So here's something from that record, just a piece. Sound like a hip hop loop. Jeff was funky. Y'all didn't know Jeff Beck was funky, did you? Nah, y'all know nothing about this. Come on now. Then they pull out some Bob James out of nowhere. What? Come on. Where Bob James come from? He just showed up at the gig. There go Bob again. Bob making all the money. He on Taxi, on Jeff Beck. He's just making all the gas. Michael playing the drum, boy. Woo! All right, now you know what Jeff's gonna do. So I'm just gonna, because I gotta move on. I gotta move on. But come on now, again, I was an eclectic child. So these are the type of records that if you are, if you're trying to get your pocket together, if you're trying to get your musicianship together, these records from this period of time are going to help you do that. When I see the young gospel drummers now, who I love, right? And I think they have a very unique gift and a very special talent, but everything's in a straight line. Everything's a perfect 16th note, and it's played as hard as humanly possible at all times. There's never a deviation. The only one who has any kind of deviation in their thing, I would give it up to Eric Moore. I would give it up to Aaron Spears. I definitely give it up to Chris Dave, way, way beyond the whole gospel drummer thing. Calvin Rogers and my man Spud with the Ghost Note. Those brothers have found a unique thing, but so many of the young gospel drummers, everything's a straight line. So I would just suggest, Uncle Pooch would suggest to you young drummers out there, listen to music from the 60s, 70s, you know what I mean? And early 80s. There's going to be a lot of gems in there. Okay? There's going to be a lot of stuff in there that's going to help you grow as a musician. Now, I'm going to play you some songs that you probably didn't know that I play drums on, right? I'm gonna lay some on you. I got to play on one Chaka Khan record. It's not like one of her more popular records, but nonetheless, I got to play on it. It's a record called The Woman I Am, and I guess this was in the 90s at some point in time, and this is me playing with Chaka. was playing on?
So I said, go let your someone, go let your someone. I can feel it in my heart, baby. I couldn't scream, I couldn't shout. I had to find out in my
Doing my Michael
own
Walden
way.
impersonation, my Narada Michael Walden impersonation on this record.
Ran into someone, yeah. I think the woman I am. Now I don't have to hide all that I feel inside. I think the woman I am. I just had to let it show. Had no way.
I know, right, Mike? It's the big gated 90s drums.
I had to learn to trust myself. I had to learn just when to say no.
Wow.
Always trying to please.
That brings back a bunch of memories. It really does. It really does. So, and to be honest with you, you know, for today's show, I knew I was going to do like something like this, but I forgot that I had played on this track. All right, now I'm going to take you to another track that's really going to trip y'all out. Probably. I forgot, again, this is another track I played on that I forgot that I played on, and I found it. I did this a long time ago, so I got called at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning to come play a session that Omar Hakim was supposed to play, but he didn't show up for whatever reason. I don't know why. So Fred McFarland, great producer, wrote Somebody Else's Guy and a whole bunch of other stuff, and Alan George, his partner, called me up and said, Poogie, please come down here. We got this track. We want you to play, right? All right, here's the track. This is going to trip y'all out. Now, I know it sounds like it's programmed, but I'm actually playing on like an electronic little drum set.
You've got to show me love. Heartbreaks and promises, I've had more than my share. I'm tired of giving my love and getting nowhere.
Yeah, I know, Holly, right? Yeah, that's me.
What I need is somebody who really cares.
I know.
I really need a lover that wants to be there.
And it became a hit. I was like, oh, snap.
Since I've touched a haunting head.
I mean, I literally went to the studio. I think I played twice, and I was done. I went home. I was there for like an hour.
That I hope you understand. So baby, if you want me,
Oh!
you've got to show
It's Saturday night, y'all. Come on now.
words aren't so easy to say. You've got to show
Of course you did, Vince. I'm playing drum.
I'm tired of getting caught up
All right,
in those
all right.
one night affairs. What I really need is somebody who will always be there.
Oh, no, son.
Don't you promise me the world, all that I've already heard. This time around for me, baby, action speaks louder than words. If you're looking for devotion, talk to me. Come with your heart in your head, because my love is guaranteed.
Yo, it's a trip. You know, this song became a huge hit and became a huge hit overseas, right? I remember